I just got done with everything there is to do in Zenless Zone Zero 1.0. Well, everything there is to do story-wise. I completed every piece of story. I didn't skip a single piece of dialogue. I took it all in. So, what is my verdict after experiencing it all, after having played all of their previous works, except Honkai Impact Third, but Genshin and Star Rail? What's my opinions on Zenless Zone Zero? Well, you're about to find out. Hello everybody, my name is Hako, and welcome into my channel, and his name is Pilut. And I think it was a treat. Pilut, you like goodies? Ready? Perfect. So, what did I think as a Hoyoverse veteran? I'm not sure what term I should be using, but what did I, as a Hoyoverse veteran, think of Zenless Zone Zero? And by veteran, I mean that I played Genshin since launch, and I played Honkai Star Rail since launched. I love them both, although I did not love them both equally. I haven't had a chance to try Honkai Impact Third yet. Genshin was my first into the series, so purists, get your torches, get the pitchforks, hunt me down for still calling me a veteran. I think I'm allowed to, because in total I don't dare to think how many hundreds or even thousands of hours I have into these games. So, Zenless Zone Zero is a very different beast from what we've gotten before. It's a very different experience from the open exploration-based game of Genshin Impact, where very much of its charm comes from this beautiful landscape and a field of view that just never ends. I climb to the highest top in Mondstadt and you can basically see to Liyue. And it's obviously a very different beast, although not as different from Honkai. It's more similar, but it's still very different. I would claim that if you play Zenless Zone Zero, like if you had no preconceived notion before that, or preconceived knowledge before that it was made by Hoyo, I think you could be fooled, or at least I could be fooled, maybe I'm the idiot, that like it had no connections or ties to either Genshin or Star Rail, because all of the games feel so freaking different. So, what did I think? I loved it. I absolutely loved Zenless Zone Zero.
Excuse me, Mr. Reporter.
Like I said, it brings a lot to the table, and I've been trying to like stay away from, public opinion, like social media opinions, as much as humanly possible. So I'm very much in the not known about what people think about this. Other than what like people from my community have said in chat while I've been streaming and they've been playing this. And I think it's been what do you say? Unanimous? I think so. From all the people I know that play this, they absolutely love it, and they are taken aback by like how beautiful it is, how charming all the characters are. I have heard rumors that some people are not smitten by the game. I heard someone mention that like, oh, Asmongold doesn't like it, but Asmongold is very often out talking about games that he doesn't care about, or that is absolutely not up his alley. So I'm not sure how much credit I put into that, or how much weight in the least. But anyway, that's beside the point. I absolutely freaking love my time with Zenless Zone Zero. I think that this might be Hoyo's best work yet. And like I said, it's not their most open game. It's almost the opposite. It's their most closed off game. But it works because that tight knit, small feeling brings a sense of like familiarity. Like it's like you don't have the giant mansion. Like you don't have the giant mansion of Genshin Impact. Instead, you have the tight, nice, cozy, one room one-room apartment that we all started out in. And it's really cozy, and you have your stuff, and it just like has this like homely feeling, this sense of familiarity. And I think also the cast comes together in like a very well thought out, well done weave that we've never really seen before, where like they interact in like so many different ways. Like they do not feel like separate set pieces just placed out in the world, and they never have an interaction. Like you have all of these factions. You have the Balebogians, the Balebog heavy something industries that are absolutely charming. You have the Cunning Hares, which is like probably the most like comedic and like wanky group. You have the Victoria Housekeeping, run by a goddamn furry. And it all just kinda works. It's a super charming experience, like it's super... I don't know, it just... For me, it hit every freaking... I don't know, it just hit every point. It just hit every point. This is right now my personal game of the year of 2024. So far in the year. And I just loved it. Like, a lot of times the stories in the Hoyoverse game is good, but the storytelling is garbage. Or leaves a lot to be desired. Garbage might be harsh. But a lot of times, like, when you're talking to farmer, you're in a main quest, but it feels like you're doing a side quest, because you're talking to default-faced farmer number 14 about his, I don't know, about his pet cat and its dog bowl or cat bowl, water bowl, whatever, and like you just feel like zero attachment, and like Paimon just and like you're like, oh my god, just shut up! Like I wanna see, like I wanna see Arlecchino turn into a beast. Like I wanna get to the cool parts. You're like ba ba ba, like smashing the spacebar. Like shut up, just let me get on with it. I personally never felt that way with Zenless. Like, I know people that skip the story, but I feel like they would skip any story. I can only speak from my own experience and my own personal opinion. And I didn't feel, and I didn't skip a single story beat because it all had me hooked. That's how interesting, in my opinion, the story and the characters were. And I think like the comic book way of telling it with like these beautiful like illustrations, like speech bubbles, and like these beautiful like expressions on the characters. Like Hoyo's characters have never been this expressive. Like it looks freaking insane. It looks freaking amazing. And like I could have just not skipped the story for the illustrations alone, because they are that good. Also, dog needs another treat. Look. Perfect. Like the illustrations are that good, they are that beautiful, and for me it was such a better way to tell a story rather than having Tabibitoya or the Traveler and Paimon, and then the camera just pans to 10 different directions around them in a 15-minute conversation that you don't care about. Like to me it brought a lot more life into the story, and like I had a genuine want of see it and experience it, rather than like, oh, I should take this in because the story is actually good, like let's sit through this. It's like, no, I actually did want to. And it, I don't know, it just works and comes to, like it comes together so beautifully. And now I should probably say I'm done with the 1.0 story. And now I'm just like waiting for the next part and like leveling up my characters. And I feel the same kind of emptiness now as I felt the first time you were done in Mondstadt in Genshin. Or it's like I have an empty feeling, but I also have the feeling of, like, you know, after you watched a really good movie, after you watched Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings trilogy for the 500th time, you're like, damn, that was an adventure, wasn't it? And And I haven't like even gotten to the strong point of the story. Or no, sorry, the strong point of the game. Because Zenless Zone Zero's strongest part is the combat. The combat is so good. It is so good. It's absolutely amazing, and it's the best combat they've ever done. I'm a super big fan of turn-based combat. I'm of the opinion that turn-based combat is turn-based because it's so complex that it would not work in real time. So there's a reason why chess is turn-based. Chess is turn-based, and not a button masher. Like the combat, the flow of the combat is so freaking well done, calibrated, designed, everything. Even if you get knocked down, like the combat is designed in a way that you're not supposed to have any downtime. Even if your character gets knocked down, there is actually like a recovery move that switches into another character to take up the action. Like you never have an instance like in Genshin where you're wet, and then you get hit by an ice attack. So you're like, whoop, you're standing there frozen for 5 seconds. Like the design of Zenless Combat makes that impossible. You're meant to then switch out characters and always keep the action going. And any fan of Sekiro will also notice that the combat is very much Sekiro. It is the bread and butter of the combat in Zenless Zone Zero is, well, basically parries. Either you dodge it or you switch out to another character at just the right moment, and then they come in and do their move. Do a switch-in move, and it is genius. It's such a good combat system. I'm not sure combat has ever felt this good in honestly any game. Like the combat is so amazing, and the team building. It does set some limitation on team building because you have passive abilities that doesn't activate unless they are teamed up with either the same element or the same faction as other characters. But those limitations also make team building so freaking good. Right now in Star Rail, if you have Sparkle, you slap her on any team and she will always be your best support. Or Ruan Mei if you're more into breaking stuff. Those two just goes in every team. You can slot them in every team and they will be the best support of those teams. This game, Zenless Zone Zero, breaks away from that simply because they've imposed these limitations on team building. So you have characters that will still be relevant even when they're outdated. If that makes sense. Even when a stronger support gets released, that other support that other previously best support might still be the best support in the niche you're trying to build, like in the Balebog team or in the Electric team or whatever. They will still have their use. There is not a universal meta. Everything with Zenless is relative. People ask me oh, what's the best this and that? And the answer is always, well, it depends. And it really does depend. And I find that to be so good, so interesting, and so good. And then you have the interaction between Koleda, which is a little fire girl with a hammer and a wrench. She gets a completely new ultimate if she's paired up with Ben, and completely new skills if she's paired up with Ben, where they do joint attack, where they come in together and slap the enemies. And she gets such a power boost by being paired up with Ben, and it's actually insane. And that's obviously not the last interaction like that we're ever gonna see in the game. I'm pretty sure they're the only interaction like that in the game right now. But they won't be the last one. Imagine down the line, say in 2.3 of Zenless Zone Zero, they release Grace's sister, and by then maybe Grace has been power crept. There are much better electric anomaly characters by then, but they bring in Grace's sister, and she gets the same kind of boost when she's paired up with Grace as Koleda does when paired up with Ben. Boom! Suddenly Grace is now back in business and now has a seat at the table again. This is just me spitballing, but it's a very, very cool and interesting way of doing it so that older characters might stay relevant. If that makes sense.
How are you doing, Bedouin?
Oh, gotta find just right spot. And I just find that a very interesting way. Now, I can see some people, like if people are not liking the game, like I guess I can see that in some ways, and like, and I think mainly that probably comes from, like, one, it is a much smaller game. Like it feels much smaller. It feels much more confined. But I don't think it's a design flaw, and I think it is very, very much intended. It's by design, all of that. Just to, like, they didn't want to give you Genshin 2.0. They wanted to give you a completely new experience, which they've done, and it is a much more confined experience. And I almost think it is set up like Hoyoverse has basically set itself up like a food court. You go there with your friends, you have a look around, and you're like, you know what? Today, I really feel like Thai food or Honkai Star Ale. Meanwhile, your other friend, he's much more into pizza, so he'll take from the stall to the right. And like so on. Like, maybe the games aren't made to be played all at once by the same kind of person. Maybe it's more like, okay, the people didn't like Genshin. Well, maybe Honkai Star Rail is more to your taste. Maybe Zenless Zone Zero is more to your taste. And like, if the confinement of Zenless Zone Zero is a problem, try Genshin, try Star Rail, and so on. Or if, for example, Genshin feels too open-ended, too little like sense of what you're supposed to be doing, too little sense of direction. Well, maybe Zenless is more up your alley. If you don't like, if you do not like turn-based combat, Zenless or Genshin, and so on. And I don't know, me personally, I have such a profound for both Genshin and Star Rail, but like, this might be my new favorite. Just because it brings everything together so beautifully. And like, the teams in Genshin, like, I put characters together that are like, they work together, and in like some cases they're supposed to be best friends, but they have no interaction with each other on the team. Like, I can use Kujusara and Raiden Shogun, and like you couldn't tell by anything happening on screen that like they are best friends or whatever you want to call them. Meanwhile, in like Zenless Zone Zero, when Anton switches out with Grace, for example, she like will tell Anton to butt out, or Anton will tell Grace like, "Oh, be careful now," and so on. Like, it just feels like the game is like much more alive, and in a way, it almost feels like an old, BioWare adventure with like Mass Effect, where you like head out with the squad, and the squad has interactions with you. And I also think that the main character is set up to be absolutely like, it's, in my opinion, the best main character they've ever done, because we are already a part of this world that we like partake. It's not an isekai that Genshin is, and Star Rail is in a way. Like, in Star Rail we still existed, but yeah, Stellar on blah blah blah. I'm not sure how unspoilery I need to be. Like, here we are an established character and everything. Just something happens, we have to like build up our reputation again. And also having, like, you get to pick between Wise or Bell as like your playable character. But that doesn't mean that the one you don't pick just disappears out of existence and dies horribly off screen. Like, the character you don't pick is still very much relevant in the story, which is also like a very cool way of doing it, and I'm not sure if I've ever seen that being done either. And like, that is that is cool, and like I gotta give them hats off for that. It's just a cool thing, and now being done with the story, I don't know, I feel so closely connected like every character. What are we on? 19 minutes? I'm trying to keep this short and concise. Like different TVs. Some of them are really good, and like the design of them makes for some good puzzles. But in some cases it doesn't. In some cases it feels overly long and like, you know, like just like a chore to get through them. That's a little bit of a nitpick, I guess. The roster is quite small now at launch. Like I'm not sure if it is that much smaller than Star Rail or Genshin. It's just maybe I'm just comparing it to like their roster right now. But for example, you only have one Ether character, and that's a 4-star. Something they've done super well that I've never seen them do before is that every single 4-star is actually a good character. Every single 5-star is actually a good character. You don't have a Shi, you don't have an Amber, you don't have a Traveler, and you don't have an Arlan, you don't have a Dan Heng, the 4-star one. Like every single one here is actually really freaking good at what they do, and I'm hoping they will keep that level up, because no matter which 4-star I'm like, hell yeah, like this is awesome. Like Sokaku is a 5-star pretending to be a 4-star, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Same with Lucy. Lucy is insane. Lucy is amazing. So yeah, what do I think as a Hoyoverse veteran of the Zenless Zone Zero experience? I absolutely love it. I appreciate that it is different, and I personally appreciate the ways it is different. Meanwhile, I can see that some people might be put off by, oh, it is so different. Like, oh, these are the same guys that made Genshin. And Genshin is so open. It's like, yeah, they've gone out of their way to not feel like Genshin, to not feel like Star Rail. I wish some Genshin clones would also go out of the way to not feel like the game they're trying to like imitate. And like these are games from the same devs, and they have such a different soul, they have such a different experience, and they have like such a different way to be played and be enjoyed. It's not maybe faultless, because like I said, the TV sections can be a little bit tedious. We still have the energy system that we've had since Genshin, like all you know, the hallmark traits of a Hoyo game or a gacha game in general are still there. Like there are these time getting stuffs, and getting a 5-star isn't cheap, but Hoyo has an economy, an established economy. So like I almost feel like 5-6 years down the line after Genshin and be like, hey, the characters are expensive. It's like, yeah, but I already know that. I already know they're gonna be. Instead, I'll be happy that like every character feels meaningful, every character feels freaking good. All in all, absolutely love the Zenless Zone Zero. I would recommend the hell out of you checking it out. I'll say it again, it is my game of the year 2024 as of this far. I'm not sure if I am allowed to count Shadow of the Erdtree as game of the year, since it's a DLC for an existing game. If I do that, maybe we'd have a different discussion, but overall I absolutely love Zenless. I'm planning on like covering the hell out of this game. I'm already working on putting out guides. I have put out several guides already, which bang would pick, and so on. So if you want to see more of that, well, feel free to stick around the channel. And if you're still watching, thank you so freaking much for watching. I appreciate the heck out of it. And I have a cat kind of clawing into my leg right now. But yeah, that will be it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.